Hey, Stewart's Chapel, this is Don Pierson, and Don counts not too careful. He stepped backwards without looking. The pond, or whatever you call it, at Stone Bridge is right behind him. And I thought he was going to step in. If he had done that, that would have been real funny for me, but you would have saw me jump up and try to rescue him. Anyway, that didn't happen. The phone would have been okay because that's what he's recording with. All right. We're in Genesis chapter 37. This is Wednesday's devotion. We're continuing our look on God's callings. So Genesis chapter 37, verses 1 through 11. And going to talk a little bit today about a specific calling that will be for a moment, but it's a long ways away. And so, Genesis 37, verses 1 through 11. Now Jacob dwelt in the land where his father was a stranger in the land of Canaan. This is the history of Jacob. Joseph being 17 years old. Interesting. So like Jeremiah was a youth, Joseph is a youth. Joseph was feeding the flock with his brothers, and the lad, the boy, was with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought a bad report of them to his father. Now, we don't know what he did, but when he left the flock, he went home and told his dad all about what these guys did. Now, I don't know what it was. We don't know. And then that's it. It's done. We move on. All right. Well, him doing that made him put a target on him for the rest of the time. Now, Israel, that is Joseph's father, loved Joseph more than all his children because he was the son of his old age. Also, he had made him a tunic or a robe of many colors. But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not speak peaceably to him. Now Joseph had a dream, and he told it to his brothers, and they hated him even more. So he said to them, "Please hear this dream which I have dreamed. We were binding sheaves in the field. Then behold, my sheaf arose and also stood upright, and indeed your sheaves stood all around and bowed down to my sheaf." You might want to think, I've heard people say, he's acting like a teenager. Well, he is acting like a teenager. But do you not know that do you not think that God knew how old he was when God gave him this dream? Do you not think that God knew what he would do when he had this dream? You see, you and I think bad of Joseph, but do you realize that God is actually preparing his brothers for a bigger purpose in the future? So he said to them, "Hear my dream." And then he told them. His brothers said to him, "Shall you indeed reign over us? Shall you be ruler over us? Or shall you indeed have dominion over us?" So they hated him even more. In other words, their hate for him just keeps getting higher and higher. For his dreams, notice it says plural dreams, and for his words, plural words. Then he dreamed still another dream, and he told it to his brothers and said, "Look, I have dreamed another dream, and this time the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed down to me." So he told it to his father, and his brothers. He's a teenager. You think God knows he's a teenager? Yes. Do you think God chose this time for him to have this dream? Yes. You think God knows what he's going to do with this dream? Yes. But you understand, this dream and the other dream was as much about preparing his brother and his father more than it was preparing Joseph. His father rebuked him and said to him, "What is this dream that you have dreamed. Like he could change his dream. Shall your mother and I and your brothers indeed come to bow down to the earth before you? And his brothers envied. They moved from hatred to jealousy and envy. But his father, listen to what it says, but his father kept the matter in mind. You see, the father knew something was happening there even though he didn't like it. God was preparing his father and his brothers. Well, there's more. If you know the rest of the story, his brothers sell him into captivity. They hated him so much. They really wanted to kill him, but one of the brothers come and rescue him. When he gets to Egypt, where he is sold by the ones who bought him, he ends up eventually in a prison. And there, two servants of the Pharaoh end up there, and they have dreams. They tell Joseph their dreams, and Joseph interprets their dreams. Their dreams come true. Joseph's dreams have not come true yet. I don't even know whether he knows whether they'll come true or not. Pharaoh will have dreams. Pharaoh will order that someone must interpret them. Well, eventually Joseph is brought out of the prison, and he interprets the dream, and Pharaoh puts Joseph as second in command over the whole kingdom. Things get bad, and Joseph's brothers and his father eventually end up in front of him on their knees, and they are delivered. This calling is very different. It's not like the other. In a sense, Joseph is called as a sense of a prophet. His dreams early on have a prophetic significance much out. All of the other dreams that he interprets have prophetic significance. He does act in a role of being a prophet. Joseph, the first few dreams, I don't know whether Joseph really knew what God had in store. I don't know whether he could have comprehended it at 17, plus the arrogance of even thinking that he could. But I do think that when he gets to Egypt and his brothers end up there searching for food, I think he realizes, oh my goodness, he even says, God put me here for this day. Some callings come long, long before us and are even made clear to us, but the fulfillment of those callings may come much later. Sometimes those callings, like Joseph's calling, even though they come much later, they're really for a very specific time, for a very specific people, and a very specific place. I don't know how often those callings are. A lot of those callings, I think, are rare, but they still, I believe, take place. God called Joseph with a dream. But you see, God called Joseph's brothers and his father through the same dreams that he gave Joseph. You see, the way God called Joseph was a gift that God would use in the future to fulfill his wills. The other thing I would say to you, a call that is fulfilled not by the proclaiming, but by the living. You see, Joseph's calling was not fulfilled by a proclamation. Many of the callings that we will look at and have looked at are all centered around a message to be delivered. Joseph's calling is very different. Joseph's calling is not fulfilled by Joseph's proclamation. Joseph's calling is fulfilled by the way he lives. He stays submissive to God in the midst of great suffering. God's calling to Joseph's life, like many of the others, definitely involved great suffering. I hope you have gained something from this look at Joseph and his calling. Perhaps you've gained a truth that I'm not aware of, or something that God showed you on any of these devotions. I would welcome you putting a comment down and saying, hey, Brother Don, I heard this or I saw that. Have you thought about that? I too desire to grow as God speaks to you, and hope that He speaks through me to you. Love you, Stewart's Chapel.